This week on the Civil War: political intrigue, explosions, and a massive battle. I never knew a civil conflict could be so cool. On the 14th, Brigadier General Joseph E. Johnston will withdraw from Harper's Ferry. To accompany this, he blows up a 800-foot trestle port over the Potomac. You see, Harper's Ferry is a very important place, being situated on the Potomac next to the B&O Railroad. It's also at the end of the Shenandoah Valley, a fact that will become important later on in the war. Also on the 14th, at the Second Wheeling Convention, there are multiple speeches decrying secession. John S. Parley, who is a former representative, says the people of Virginia is establishing themselves a government deemed it best that it should be divided into two parts. If I may use the expression, and you allow me to use language which I understand and which all can understand, what is government? It is an agent. All governments are the agents of the people, governed. And the people of Virginia, in establishing government for themselves, deemed it best to create two agents. The federal government is one, and the state government is the other. They have expressly declared that acts within the limits of attorney, and the acts of the federal agent, within his powers, limited and defined by the instrument creating him agent, shall be supreme. Any act done or performed by the state agent in conflict with the powers conferred upon the federal agent is to be null and void. Thus it will be seen that within the powers conferred, the federal agent is supreme, independent of and above the state agent. Hence the doctrine of Mr. Clay when he said, I own a supreme allegiance to the federal government, subordinate one to my own state. He also says, if peace shall once more be restored to this happy land, I trust that among the first acts of the people of the states will be to convene a national convention, which shall, if it does nothing else, change our relations so far as treason is concerned. I want to see a little more stringent vision on that subject. I want that which goes to destroy the perpetuity of our government, whether it be an overt act or not, to be punished as treason. It's quite clear which way the wind is blowing in the convention. Anti-secession speeches continue on the 17th, with more treason accusations and are given directly to the state of Virginia and its people. Carly continues, it is the result, sir, of mutual deliberation concerted in treason, for the express purpose of breaking up constitutional liberty in this country. Also on the 17th is the Battle of Vienna, Virginia. The 1st Ohio is on a train being moved around Virginia. A young man, taking in the view, spots a Confederate cavalryman. He raises his firearm to take a shot. Bang! Before he can fire, artillery is coming in at the train he is currently on. He and along with some of his comrades jump out and take cover. Some run to the trees behind the train. Others stick more closely to the railroads, finding cover there. The officers on the train take decisive action and run away in the other direction, leaving behind some cars, along with the personnel and items who were riding on them. The Union soldiers who aren't on the train and being left behind return fire, but do nothing. At nightfall, the Confederates loot the train cars behind and try to capture the scattered Union soldiers. The Confederates are unable to do so. In total, 8 Union men die and 4 are wounded. The wounded are going to be brought back to Union camp. The big action of this week is also on the 17th. It's the Battle of Boonville. But before we go into that, let's catch up on how things are going in Missouri. Chaos. What about the Price-Harney Treaty? Well, the Price-Harney Treaty failed for many, many reasons. There was one last meeting between Nathaniel Lyon and the governor, along with General Price. And it did not work out the problems. On the 12th, Governor Jackson and General Price flee to Jefferson City. They then burn down the transportation infrastructure behind them and flee further to Boonville. William follows them with men artillery coming from the 1st and 2nd Missouri, the 2nd U.S., and the U.S. artillery. Washington gets to Jefferson City, and on the 15th learns that the Confederates have further moved on to Boonville. During this time, General Price leaves Boonville in the hands of John S. Marmaduke, a state colonel. He had fallen sick. There were Confederate reinforcements just south that failed to be called up in time for this eventual battle. On the morning of the 17th, Nathaniel Williams' men disembark and march onto Boonville at 7 in the morning. Marmaduke has set up 500 of his best skirmishers for an ambush along the heights. Williams is first met by these Confederate picket men, but thinking quickly, he deploys his own skirmishers to take them out and capture them, and keeps on moving quickly. He goes down the road, advancing onto Boonville, but before he can get there, he is met by the main enemy force, situated between a hill and a bluff. Interestingly, no part of this force is led by Governor Jackson, who is instead leading the reserves. Confederate skirmishers appear on a bluff and are ready to pour down fire onto the Union, who are currently walking right in front of them at the main enemy. But the Union artillery stops them by doing so by firing quick shots, forcing them down and unable to take advantage. After a quick, short-range volley from the Union, the Confederates fall back. Some try to regroup and stop the Union advance, but Nathaniel Lyon continues with his quick advance and quick reactions to all of these, and being better equipped with a more stringent men, the Confederacies fail. 5 die on both sides. 7 Union soldiers are wounded versus 10 Confederates wounded. 80 Confederate men are captured and paroled by Nathaniel Lyon, marking this as a strong Union victory, claiming a good portion of Missouri. Well, really just Sumter, Missouri. Though Governor Jackson wasn't in the main forces, and the Confederate leadership of Missouri continues to exist, and the chase for them will continue. Though you don't have to wait till next week for the second part of this chase, because on the 19th at Brenton County, another battle occurs, the Battle of Coal Camp. Lyon had raised at least 400 men in Brenton County, and this has caused anger. So, some secessionists, numbering around 350 with about 100 on horseback, led by an O'Kane, who you should remember for later, come down to Brenton to stop this pro-Union militia. The Union militia has occupied 2 farms on the 11th for training their new men, Coal Camp. On the 18th, the Union kills a Confederate spy, but this doesn't give them any information. On the 19th, the Confederates overrun the Union pickets and pour volleys into one of the occupied farms. Though unluckily for them, they had accidentally turned their backs to a Union unit who starts firing into their backs. Though, luckily for this unit had very little ammunition, and after just taking their first couple of shots, has to fall back, lest they come up against actual Confederate forces without any ammo. The Confederates' untrained mounted contingent, the 100 on horseback, are able to stop any sort of Union organization to stop the Confederate militia. During this time, the Union flag is taken by the Confederates, and this will cause confusion, because when the Union men from the other farm get to the battlefield, they don't fire on the Confederates who have captured the flag, thinking that they are Union because they have the Union flag. The Confederates have no confusion about are the people they're looking at are Union, and start firing into them, receiving only piecemeal fire back as the Union militia leaves, their officer having run away, and the Confederates win. The Union loses 35 dead, 60 wounded, and 25 captured. The Confederacy loses 7 men dead and 25 wounded. O'Kane has captured the weapons on these Union men, which many have dropped fleeing additional to those wounded and dead, and send them to the Confederate headquarters. This victory allows for the Confederate leadership in Missouri to continue the fight, having now a place where they can flee through. On the 19th, the Second Wheeling Convention calls the actions of Virginia unlawful and says it will create a restored Virginia government. On the 20th, Pierpont is elected governor of this restored Virginia government. Though this government has 0 men to defend their secession within a secession. So they really only have control where the public supports them. So only Western Virginia. And that's where the week ends. Actually, one last thing. What has happened this week is important. But what's really important is on the 20th, the 70th New York is created. And who will be put in place? Well, he is something special. For his early life, he worked as a lawyer, as a politician for pure good. His birthday is unknown to us, though we get people to fully accept his marriage, or because he has been there since the earth was made. His only fault? Temporary insanity, as he shot an evil serpent and forced his wife into an affair. For his brave actions in offending the affair, he is pronounced the savior of all the ladies of Washington. A man who loves liberty so much he is unable to engage with Queen Victoria on the 4th of July. He played 40 chess with everything he ever did. The story will climax with him saving America, though sadly few understand this. A lover of the Spanish Queen, a righteous proponent of abolition, and the best man who has ever lived, Daniel Edgar Sickles.